Now, the Supreme Court has begun hearing a rare presidential reference made by Draupadi Murmu, the President of India, concerning the powers of the President and governors. President Murmu had made the reference following a Supreme Court order that prescribed a timeline of maximum 3 months for the President to consider a bill referred by a state's governor. Ashmit is here with more on the Apex Court's direction to the centre. An unprecedented move, Ashmit. Take us through what the Supreme Court has said.
Well, the Supreme Court is clearly saying that this is a matter which will have sweeping implications across states, and therefore asking for opinions coming in from all states on this matter. Now, it all began with opposition-ruled states, the likes of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Punjab, raising the question before the Supreme Court in multiple petitions against their respective governors, saying that these governors are blocking state legislation by sitting on bills indefinitely. Taking note of these matters, in one particular case involving the state of Tamil Nadu, the Supreme Court had given a sweeping judgment whereby it directed the governor as well as the President of India to decide on these deferred bills in no more than 3 months. That's a 3-month deadline that the Supreme Court has prescribed. Now, that is what led to a big backlash. In fact, the now former Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar had slammed this decision by the Apex Court, at one point even referring to the special powers under which the Supreme Court had acted, calling it a nuclear missile against democratic forces. So that was the nature of backlash that the Supreme Court had seen. And then subsequently, we saw President Draupadi Murmu make a presidential reference to the Supreme Court, which is basically in the nature of asking the Supreme Court on an issue of legal, a complex legal issue was raised. A number of questions. It all boils down to whether or not the Supreme Court can issue such a direction, can give a deadline to the President of India. That's the question that the Apex Court is dealing with. Now, a bench usually of no less than 5 judges hears such presidential references. Today was no different. A bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Govt, he took charge of this matter. He's issued notice to all the states, asked them to come back with their response. The next hearing in this case will be next week on July 29th.
Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.